Greetings, groovy people. I'm the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon. Welcome to July's question and answer for my patrons at the $10 level. I do a monthly video for them answering different questions that they have and sometimes questions that other people have whenever they don't have questions. There's always questions, right? Okay. The background for this video, it's kind of a speed paint. I'm doing a traditional art video with the handful of Copics I have. I think 6, 7, 8, maybe 8 Copics. So you use what you got. You don't have to have a lot of colors in order to create something. And the image that I am coloring is of Rhiannon from Dark Horse. The question and answer session is also about my comic Dark Horse. Links in the description for anyone who's new to the channel. But yeah, I also have a Sakura gel pen because I watched Drawing with Waffles and she uses it all the time and a bunch of other people do too. So I was like, when I finally got a chance and had a little bit of extra cash, I was like, I'm gonna get one of those. And so we got some. Actually, it's 3. They're 3 different sizes, and so far they write fairly smoothly and they seem to work okay. I'm not a professional with Copics or with the gel pens, but I like it okay. So that's what's going on in the video. But this month's question and answer topic is Black Magic Woman. If you like Black Magic Woman, if you like the Santana version, which is a very good version, that whole album, that Abraxas album is amazing. But if you want to hear the original, it's actually by Fleetwood Mac before the Americans took the group over. Not that I don't like, a lot of their stuff with Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham, but I really like, I like their old stuff too, like with Bob Welch and Peter Green. I like a lot of their old stuff. So I'm linking a video to the old school Black Magic Woman song, which, heck, who knows, maybe they took it from some old blues people. People did that a lot back then. But yeah, so I'm continuing the discussion of Black Magic. This video I'm going to talk a little bit slower because I really have to follow my notes to make sure that I'm not messing something up, and even then I'll probably mess something up. So sorry if I am confusing, but I am going to talk a little slower. And this talk is probably going to extend into next month's video also because it is kind of a complex system, and I don't even know why it's this complex because it's really not even going to become an issue until way later in the Crystal Lotus Chronicles series. It's not really even going to be talked about at all in Dark Horse until there's some kind of hints at what's going on at the very end of the series, which leads into the next series. So, but anyway, you guys can know this, and I was asked the question, so I'm going to give an answer. Okay, so the question is, it's kind of a 2-part question. How does black magic work, and how is it different from other magic? So I'm going to tackle the second part of the question first because last video I touched upon it, and I'm going to kind of recap a little bit here. But last month, the June question and answer, I talked about soul power. And I mentioned that they have different charges. Now there's other types of magics that are not necessarily related to soul power. There are potions, there are scrolls, spells, there are objects that can be used as conduits for magic, and if you are unable to tap into your own magic, your own soul, there are ways for someone to perform magic without using their own soul power. That's not what the Crystal Lotus Warriors or the Guardians of the Crystal Lotus are doing. They're using their own power, but like in Act 2, Odysseus is using an orb to teleport him and Kana elsewhere in the park. He couldn't go very far because it was a very small spell, but that spell, that transportation spell, was encapsulated in that orb that he was holding. So, because he didn't really know how to use much magic. He could use a little bit that he'd picked up from serving under Kazuma, and also, that's going to be later on, so I'm not going to talk about that. But there are ways to use magic that aren't necessarily your own soul power. Those magical objects, they can get magic from the trees, they can get it from the air, from water, whatever. An object can also be used for more Word of Wednesday and auspicious uses, like storing souls, which is something that Kazuma does with her ivory quote-unquote stone, which is really a bummer. I talked about that last video. Link here. Go watch it. But all souls, in essence, are magic or energy. And it's not just human souls, it's any being, really. I mean, any animal in this world has a soul, and those souls have magic, and that's why sometimes people will perform sacrifices of animals. That's why you see a lot of that with black magic practitioners, which I'll get to later in the video. But the soul itself is magical, and it has different charges. In the natural world, magic is generally speaking, either positive or neutral. There's a little bit of naturally occurring negative energy, but negative energy in itself is extremely corrosive, and too much of it will eat away at the world. It is very bad for the natural world and the environment in general, which is one of the reasons why black magic is so... There's several reasons why it's taboo, but that's one of the reasons. It's very damaging to the world, and most people who use, or well, I'm gonna say people because there are other races, but there's demons and fairies are still related to humans in a way. They just evolved differently in this world, so they're still people. So I'm gonna refer to them as people. They're just different people. So most people don't use that kind of magic anyway, since it's not natural. And even black magic practitioners, they could very easily use other types of magic, but they don't. They use black magic. So one of the big reasons why it's taboo is because it is so damaging to the environment, but it is also extremely cruel, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. So you've got the three charges, your positive, neutral, and negative. Normally when a person passes away, their soul either becomes positive or stays positive or goes neutral and then is absorbed into nature. There are occasions where a person's will is so strong and so strongly negative that is imbued upon the soul, in which case that soul would have an option of reincarnating if that's the will of the person who had the soul, or it might just be one of that small traces of negative energy that's in the world. So most negative souls will reincarnate into another person, into another body. But black magic, what it does is it forces the soul out of a body unwillingly. There are times when, I can't get into this. Okay, well, I'll talk about the next video. I'll talk about willingness and all that, but that automatically pulling it from an unwilling person will make the soul go negative. And the easiest source and one of the most powerful sources of black magic are humans, demons. Again, people will do animal sacrifice, but really the easiest target are non-magic using humans. Fae folk are a little better at defending themselves from black magic practitioners than, some layman human on the street who's got no idea how to use magic. They're such an easier target. So that's why they oftentimes are the ones that are the victims of black magic practitioners. But how does black magic work? It's basically, the black magic is negative energy, more often than not, negative energy that is created by tearing a soul from a body. And another reason why it's so taboo is because that very act of ripping the soul from the body is extremely painful. Think about if anyone's out there has read His Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman, I believe. Oh my god, that series is amazing. Don't watch the movie, they take all the teeth out of it. But think of how, the demons, how painful, that's essentially those characters' souls, and how painful that would be to pull your soul out of the body. And what's left behind is essentially the living body, which will either atrophy, be kept alive and atrophy in hopes that maybe the soul can make it back. So it's basically a person who's gone into a coma, or the body will, with no one sustaining it, keeping it alive, will die. In some cases, if someone's able to keep that body alive, that would be an example of a zombie if they're able to reanimate it. But it's a pain in the butt to do that. Nobody wants a zombie, because you've got to take care of it, you've got to control its every move. Very few people want zombies, so this is not going to become a zombie story, folks. It's real. There is a zombie in it, but it's not, it's very hard to control them, so there aren't a ton of zombies running around, and you don't become a zombie by being bitten by a zombie or any kind of disease in this post-apocalyptic story. So I just want to make that very clear about how I handle zombies in my story. And there are very many of them. So yeah, that's really all I have time to talk about this week. Next month, I'll get more into it. Question of the week. The Negaverse, the negative world. What do you guys think about it? Do you like it? Do you hate it as a bad guy or as a concept? What are your thoughts about characters using black magic? What kind of black magic do you actually find fascinating? What would you define as black magic in your own mind? Leave that below. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support the channel, please subscribe, thumb up the video, do the bell thing. If you're interested in Dark Horse and you want to support me by buying, instead of like doing Patreon or something like that, if you want to buy a copy, it's $7.50 hard copy, $3 PDF. Send me an email, cerulean.graphics@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Peace and love. Fare you well, and keep on trucking.